Tonight, inshallah, as promised before, we'll be talking about the names that are related to the concept of a rizq. So we have Al-Razzaq, Al-Wahhab, Khairul Raziqeen, Al-Raziq, Al-Muqit. These are names that have the same meaning, basically. The difference between Al-Raziq and Al-Razzaq, Al-Raziq is the provider in general, without any level of intensity. But Al-Razzaq is an intensive form of Raziq. And Al-Razzaq is mentioned in Allah wa Razzaqu dhul quwwati al-mateen, is mentioned at the end of Surah Al-Dhariyat and some other places. But Al-Raziq is one qira'ah of Al-Razzaq. So you know that we have around 7 authentic qira'at. The qira'ah that is more popular, that is popular and used by majority of Muslims today, is the qira'ah of Hafs, but there are some Hafs and Asim. But there are many qira'at, many different versions, and there are some small differences between these qira'at. One of them is this, Al-Razzaq and Al-Raziq. In a different qira'ah, Inna Allah wa Al-Raziq dhul quwwati al-mateen. And Al-Razzaq means the one who provides rizq for his creation. Al-Razzaq could be also translated as the all provider. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala constantly reminds his servants in the Quran that he is the one who provides for them. Like مثلا in Surah Fatir, Ya ayyuhan nas. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing all people, not only the believers, all people, because his rizq is all for all people, Muslims and non-Muslims. المؤمنون والكفار كلهم يستفيدون وينتفعون من رزق الله عز وجل. Everyone is benefiting from the rizq and the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this life. So يا أيها الناس اذكروا نعمة الله عليكم. Mention the bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon you. So it is a sunnah, it is actually an Islamic requirement, an Islamic command to talk about the ni'am of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah wants you to talk about his ni'am, his bounties. Mention the ni'am of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon you in your life. That's okay, don't be worried about hasad. هل من خالق غير الله يرزقكم من السماء والأرض. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying a question, but we know the answer. Is there any other creator than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who provides for you from the heavens and the earth? And of course, this su'al here, this question, and I use it personally to empower my faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed this book, the Quran, and he told us how he revealed the Torah and the Injil and the other books to the other prophets and messengers. And there is no one else who claimed that he revealed some other books and he sent some other messengers that we know about them, and he claiming that he is God in this universe, right? Who has the power to create and to give or take away. No one else. I mean, they talk about, if you look at the history of humanity, what do you find there? Idols. They are made of their stones, planets and stars. Some people are worshipping some animals. What else? What else? But the most maybe challenging thing in modern times is atheism. People who claim that there is no God. And Muslims have to seriously deal with this issue. Now, al-ilhad, atheism. This is something that we need in modern times because we have the tools. We live in this time and we have the tools. But here, when it comes to someone else beside Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is no one else. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is helping us actually to confirm our faith. هل من خالق غير الله يرزقكم من السماء والأرض لا إله إلا هو فأنا تؤفكون. So how are you deluded? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us about his rizq in this ayah. And the ulama, they said the rizq is divided into 2 types. The general rizq or general sustenance to every creation, regardless, as I said, of their faith or their level of obedience or disobedience. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the kafir and gives the mu'min in this life. And everyone is tested. Yani if you are wealthy, it is a test. If you don't have money and you are poor, it's a different test. So everyone is tested, ya ikhwan, in this life. I'll give you one story, one short story. It's a true story. I heard it from another sheikh. One brother, he was praying Salat al-Fajr. And he's wealthy, mashallah. He has a driver, very expensive car, leaving the masjid with his driver. So sitting behind, and his driver is driving the car with a very expensive car. A group of brothers who are very, they are workers. Yani they don't have, their financial means are very limited. They were sitting in front of the masjid after Salat al-Fajr, having some tea together, and then he was passing by. This guy was passing by. One of them, he said, شوف الناس اللي عايشة. الناس, look at the people who are really, they are rich and they have money and they have the means. And I think his window was open, so he heard this statement. So he told his driver, come back. So he went back to them and he said, who made this statement? And everyone felt shy, no one would say. He said, please, don't worry, I'm not going to do anything to you. Just tell me who made this statement. And one of them said, I made this statement. He said, brother, I'll tell you something. I'm very rich. I'm extremely wealthy. But I live with only one kidney. And I have many health problems. And I don't have children. Are you willing to take my spot? And I take your spot. You have good health, you're enjoying life. Yes, you don't have money, but... And he said, he asked him before, do you have children? He said, yes, alhamdulillah, I have 4. So he has 4 children, good health, right? But he's poor. So he said, are you willing to be in my place and I'll be in your place? And the other brother said, no. Jazakallah khair. So sometimes, appearance is very deceiving, ya ikhwan. But we need all of us to celebrate the ni'mah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the rizq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In a different ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made a general statement, وَمَا مِن دَابَّةٍ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِلَّا عَلَى اللَّهِ رِزْقُهَا. So he said there is no creation on earth, but upon Allah is its provision. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised that He will provide for everyone. In Surah Al-A'raf, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, يَمُنُّ عَلَيْنَا, reminding us of His favors upon us, وَلَقَدْ مَكَّنَّاكُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَجَعَلْنَا لَكُمْ فِيهَا مَعَايِشْ قَلِيلًا مَا تَشْكُرُونَ. He said, we have established, indeed we have established you upon the earth. This is our home. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it easy for us to live on this earth. وَجَعَلْنَا لَكُمْ فِيهَا مَعَايِشْ, and we made for you therein ways of livelihood. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created this earth for us, right? قَلِيلًا مَا تَشْكُرُونَ, little are you grateful. And now the problem is we're not grateful because we take everything for granted, ya ikhwan. We take everything for granted, and this is our problem. Especially our children nowadays, mashallah, they live in this society. We have the means, right? It's not like back home. I remember in the 70s, our life was different than nowadays, right? It was different. I have to tell you this, to be honest with you. And it was different for everyone. We didn't have smartphones. We didn't have, many things that we have that we enjoy today. But the problem is we forgot about our life in the 60s and 70s, and maybe in the 80s, and we take everything for granted. I'll tell you about something. This is personal, but I'll tell you about it. Anyone can experience this. 2 months ago, I got sick, and I got strep throat. Wallahi, akhwan, I was amazed. I never thought about it before. About the bounty, the ni'mah of eating food or drinking water without pain. Because it was very painful to drink water. So your saliva, you cannot swallow your own saliva without pain. And I said, this is, subhanallah, this is a big ni'mah. That we don't pay attention to it. And nowadays, we forget. We eat. And it's easy, right, to eat. We don't. We enjoy eating food, talking to each other. But we forget that this is a big ni'mah, to be able to eat without pain. In Surah Al-Dhariyat, ya ikhwan, we need to pay attention to the end of Surah Al-Dhariyat. In it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us about the purpose of life. And He told us that your rizq, our rizq, is guaranteed, that we don't have to worry. There is no need to worry about it. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. He said, I have not created jinn and ins except that they should worship me. Yeah, and then he said, ما أريد منهم من رزق وما أريد أن يطعمون إن الله هو الرزاق ذو القوة المتين. If you want, you can memorize this, الرزاق ذو القوة المتين, to use it, inshallah, if you want to empower your dua. At the end of Surah Al-Dhariyat, this ayah is 58, and Dhariyat is chapter 51. إن الله هو الرزاق ذو القوة المتين. So here, this part of the ayah, you can use it بإذن الله تعالى وكوسيلة تتوسل بها إلى الله عز وجل. يعني تستعمل أسماء الله الحسنى وأنت تتوسل إلى الله سبحانه وتعالى وأنت تدعو الله سبحانه وتعالى. So this is a form, one of the best forms of tawassul, to use the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your dua. So here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said, I did not create you to feed me or to help me with anything. إن الله هو الرزاق ذو القوة المتين. Allah is the continual provider and He is the firm possessor of strength. And إخوان, يعني some ulama, they said, يعني دليل على انطماس البصيرة, when someone is lacking knowledge and lacking wisdom, is that he busy himself with what was guaranteed for him. Your rizq is written. Whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has written for you, you will take it. There is no doubt about it. So how do we solve the problem between the concept of, following the means of achievement, al-akhdhu bil-asbab, that you need to do your homework, seeking for rizq, and between this qana'a, this contentment that we are supposed to have as Muslims, right? And al-ridha, being satisfied with the rizq, with your share in this life. Ya ikhwan, Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam helped us with this. He said, Inna ruh al-Qudus, who is Jibreel. Jibreel is called Ruh al-Qudus. نفث في روعي أن نفسا لن تموت حتى تستكمل أجلها ورزقها فاتقوا الله وأجملوا في الطلب ولا يحملنكم استبطاء الرزق على أن تطلبوه بالمعصية فإن الله لا ينال ما عنده إلا بطاعته. So in this hadith, Jibreel has breath in my heart, into my heart, that there is no soul will die until it's allotted provision. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has written for it. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has written for you. If Allah wrote that you will, or decreed that you will make $1 million in your life. Of course you don't get it at once. But step by step. Every time you get some few thousands here and there until you complete this amount that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has written for you. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, Jibreel told me that no one will die until he gets his rizq, the full amount that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed for you. So you don't have to worry, no one will come and take your rizq, no one is able to take your rizq. What was written for you, you will see it, you will take it, you will benefit from it, you will enjoy it in this life. And also, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed that you will live in this life 80 years or 90 years, no one can finish your life before that, terminate. No one has the ability or the power to terminate your life before that. Now we said the first type of rizq was general rizq, right? The second one is called the specific rizq. What is specific rizq? Here we'll talk about different types of rizq. So we need to expand here the notion of rizq. Rizq is not only material provisions in the form of food and money. There are some other types of rizq. مثلا, the best definition of rizq, يعني anything that could bring us benefits in this dunya and al-akhirah. Anything that could bring us benefits. مثلا, good health is a rizq, is a type of rizq. Having children is a type of rizq. Knowledge, beneficial knowledge, is a type of rizq. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually told us about this in Surah Yunus. يا أيها الناس قد جاءتكم موعظة من ربكم وشفاء لما في الصدور وهدى ورحمة للمؤمنين. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about the Quran here, the qualities of the Quran. قل بفضل الله وبرحمته فبذلك فليفرحوا هو خير مما يجمعون. So the meaning here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again reminding mankind, O mankind, there has come to you admonition from your Lord, which is the Quran, right? And a healing for what is in the breast. And it is a healing. The Quran, when you understand the Quran, the message of the Quran, we have problems inside here. In this small piece of flesh that we have inside, we have many problems. And we need to take care of them, right? Batinul ithm. What is batinul ithm? Is the hidden sins. What are the hidden sins, ya ikhwan? Could be riya, could be showing off. Could be arrogance, could be hasad, jealousy, envy, right? And these things are not tangible, you cannot see them. But most of these problems are what? They are hidden. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, هذا القرآن شفاء لما في الصدور. It is a healing for what is within our breasts. And a guidance and mercy for the believers. Those who believe in the message of the Quran, it will be a guidance and it will be a mercy for them. But what did he say in the next ayah? He said this bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His mercy is better than what you accumulate. What do we accumulate in this life is money, right? Money and wealth. This is what we like to collect. So he said this mercy, the Quran and the Islam that I have revealed to Muhammad sallallahu is better than what you collect, what you try to collect in this life. Now let's talk a little bit about the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give, because this will give us some hope, inshallah, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. We'll mention about some stories, some stories from the Quran and some other stories that happen in this life. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to give, ya ikhwan, He will make what is impossible possible. He has the ability to make what is difficult and impossible into turn what is difficult and impossible into something possible. And here we have two stories, مثلا, there are famous stories in the Quran. The story of Ibrahim alayhi salam and also Zakaria. Ibrahim alayhi salam was a great messenger of Allah, but he was a childless. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed him with Ismail through his second wife Hajar. But his first wife Sarah did not have children until she was 90 years old, around 90 years old, right? Hajar, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed him with Ismail. After a short period of time, Allah commanded him to take Ismail and Hajar for a purpose, for a wisdom. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had a plan for this family. He had a plan for the Kaaba, for the city of Mecca, to take Hajar and Ismail there and leave them in a barren valley, plantless valley. And that was a great achievement of Ibrahim alayhi salam. He placed his trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he left his wife and his only son at that time, Ismail, in that place with no food, no water, no people around. This is something that no father will do it, but Ibrahim did it, alayhi salatu wasalam. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested Ibrahim, and Ibrahim passed many difficult tests. And that's why he's Abul Anbiya, the father of all prophets. All the prophets and messengers who came after Ibrahim alayhi salam, they are the descendants of Ibrahim alayhi salam. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed him and blessed his family and his descendants. But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decided to give him a child, another child, at an old age. When he was 100 years old, they said the Mufassirun, and his wife Sarah was 90. The Malaika came to him. In Surah Al-Dhariyat, again Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us about their story. He came to his house, the Malaika, but they came in the shape of humans, in the form of humans. He could not recognize, he didn't know that they are angels, right? فَرَاغَ إِلَىٰ أَهْلِهِ فَجَاءَ بِعِجْلٍ سَمِينٍ. So he went, and this is a sign of his generosity to his family, and he came back with a fat roasted calf, ya ikhwan, ijl, right? فَقَرَّبَهُ إِلَيْهِمْ قَالَ أَلَا تَأْكُلُونَ. So he placed it in front of them, and he said, don't you eat? It was, so they didn't want to touch it. The Malaika don't eat and don't drink. He became what? Scared. فأوجس منهم خيفة. He's worried now. Because at that time, if someone comes to your house and you give him food and he doesn't touch the food, it's a sign of what? Of troubles. That this person is upset, he came for a problem, for a big issue. Right? So he was kind of worried, right? قالوا لا تخف وبشروه بغلام عليم. They said, don't worry, don't be afraid. And they gave him the glad tidings of a learned boy. Yani not only a boy, no, he will be a scholar. Actually, he was a prophet. غلام عليم, right? نعم. In this ayah of Dhariyat Alim. In a different surah, Halim. But in Surah Al-Dhariyat Alim, learned boy. He was Halim and Alim. Ishaq alayhi salam. So his wife, the Quran says, Surah Al-Dhari, فَأَقْبَلَتْ امْرَأَتُهُ فِي صَرَّةٍ فَسَكَّتْ وَجْهَهَا وَقَالَتْ عَجُوزٌ حَقِيمٌ. So she came with a cry and she stuck her face and she said, I am an old or a barren old woman. Yani I don't give children, I am an old woman. Now when you look at this situation, it's an impossible situation, right? Who has the ability to have a child at the age of 100 years and his wife is 90 years old? She was very old and she was childless. She was aqim, she was not able to bear children. But what was the answer? قالوا كذلك قال ربك إنه هو الحكيم العليم. قالوا كذلك, thus has said your Lord. This is the command of your Lord. We're just conveying the message of your Lord. This is what he said, that you're going to have a child. Yes, your situation is very difficult, but Allah decided to give you a child at this moment. And He has the power to give. He has the power to give you. إِنَّهُ هُوَ الْحَكِيمُ الْعَلِيمُ. By the way here, this combination between Al-Hakim and Al-Alim, those who don't have children, we have some brothers in the community who don't have children. There are two du'as, famous du'as that Zakaria alayhi salam used. One of them, رَبِّ لَا تَذَرْنِي فَرْدًا وَأَنْتَ خَيْرُ الْوَارِثِينَ. You can empower this du'a that Zakaria alayhi salam used by these two names. At the end you say, رَبِّ إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ الْحَكِيمُ الْعَلِيمُ. Because these Hakim al-Alim were mentioned in this story, the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, when the Malaika came and gave him a glad tiding of a child. So this is the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Zakaria alayhi salam prayed for a child. After he went to visit Maryam alayhi salam, she was a child staying in the masjid in Bayt al-Maqdis by herself, worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So whenever he visits Maryam, he will find some food with her. But the ulama mufassirun, they said it was not usual food. Yani it was something amazing at that time. Now it's not amazing. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would give her summer food in the winter, or winter fruits in the summer. Which is amazing at that time because they didn't have what? They didn't have the technology that we have today. They didn't have freezers, they didn't have fridges. I mean, now it's easy to store winter fruits and use them in the summer, or store summer fruits and use them and consume them, eat them in the winter, right? It's not a big deal nowadays. But at that time, it was a miracle. It was a karama. It was a kind of miracle. So Zakaria alayhi salam, was amazed. And then he started making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, asking Him to give him a child. He himself, he admitted that his bones have weakened, which is a sign of what? His body was weak. And he said his head was filled with white. اشتعل الرأس شيبة. It's a sign of old age. And his wife was barren, also Zakaria. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decided to give them a child. So He made the impossible possible, ya ikhwan, and they were blessed with a child, and his name was Yahya, another prophet. Not only a child, but he was another prophet. Alayhim as-salam jami'an. So he knew that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the power to give, and His rahmah doesn't have any limit. He kept on making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, I will tell you about the story of Hatim al-Asam. About rizq, we're talking about rizq. Hatim al-Asam was someone who lived in the 3rd century. He lived in the city of Balkh. Now it is in Afghanistan, right? He spent most of his life there in that area, and he was very pious man. Now the story has no chain of narration, to be honest with you. But it's not a hadith. We're not reporting a hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we're not reporting a story from a Sahabi, because if it is something that was said by a Sahabi and it has to do with the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it could be attributed to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam if it is something that cannot be known except through revelation. If a Sahabi says something and there is no way for him to know it except through revelation, then we said he must have taken it from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it could be accepted as a proof, as a Sharia proof. So we are not reporting the story of a Sahabi here, as someone who lived in the 3rd century. It's a story, because there are people who said we shouldn't share these stories. I mean, if it is about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, yes, don't share it if it is not authentic. If about a Sahabi, don't share it if it is not authentic. But here this story is confirming what we know, the concept of rizq, the concept of the ability of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give when He wants to give. So Hatim was very poor, Hatim al-Asam, and he wanted to make Hajj, but he didn't have the means. And one time he was thinking about Hajj, he was crying. His daughter came to him, she paid attention to him crying, and she asked him, and he said, I'm thinking about Hajj, but I don't have the financial means, and I don't have enough money if I go to Hajj, to leave it for you, to sustain your expenses during this period of time. At that time, they didn't have trains or planes. They used to travel on camels. Hajj would be maybe a journey of 3 months or 4 months. It could be sometimes 1 year or 2 years for some people, right? It used to be a long journey. His daughter told him, don't worry, Allah will provide for us from way we never imagined. Like the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Surah At-Talaq. وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. And whoever fears Allah, Allah will make a way out for him, and He will provide for him from ways he never thought of, or he never imagined. That was the statement of his daughter. So he decided to go for Hajj. And then he went with the caravan. He followed the caravan. Yeah, they used to have caravans, group of people going, using camels or horses and going together for Hajj. He followed this caravan. After a short period of time, the leader of the caravan was stung by a scorpion, and he was looking for someone to do ruqyah for him. So the people thought about Hatim. He was very known for his piety and for his knowledge. He came, they asked him to do ruqyah for the leader of the caravan. He made ruqyah for him, and he was treated. He was very happy. He announced that all the expenses of Hatim al-Asam for his Hajj, I will cover all his expenses during the journey of Hajj. And Hatim thanked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, shakar Allah azza wa jal, وقال, oh Allah, this is your provision for me, show me your provision for my family. Of course, what happened, they said after a few days, his family was suffering and they were struggling. They were blaming the daughter who encouraged her father to go for Hajj. What happened? The leader in that area, or the Amir, sometimes they call him the Caliph. In this story, they call him the Caliph. I don't know his name. He was passing by that area with his guards and with his aides, and he felt thirsty. So he said, I need some drinking water. One of his aides went to the door of Hatim. The house of Hatim was there in the area, so he knocked the door. He didn't know that it was the house of Hatim. He knocked the door, and they asked for some drinking water. And they brought this drinking water. They gave them some water. He brought this drinking water to the Amir. He was drinking, and he felt that this is fresh and sweet. He said, whose water? From where you brought this water? They told him it was the house of Hatim al-Asam. And Hatim was known at that time. They know him. People know him that he was. And he said, this is Hatim. He was actually very happy that he He got this water from the house of Hacene al-Asam. He took his belt, and the story says that it was adorned by some jewels and some gems, and he threw it in front of the house of Hacene al-Asam. And he told his aides and the people with him, whoever respects me and loves me, he should do the same. So all of them threw their belts in front of the house of Hacene al-Asam. And they were amazed, the family were amazed, were happy. But they said the daughter was crying. The daughter who advised her father to go was crying. And they told her, why are you crying? She said, this guy is a human being who doesn't control. He cannot bring harm or benefit to himself, right? He looked at us with some kindness, and this is what we got. How about if the creator of the heavens and the earth looks at us with, in a kind way, what will happen to us? So it was a great story, a story of Hacene. But I have another story to share with you here. It was mentioned by Sheikh Muhammad As-Sawi, and he's a young sheikh from Egypt. He said it is on YouTube, anyone can verify. It's another beautiful story. Before that, I would like to deal with a misunderstanding here about Hajj, going to Hajj without provision. Some people might say Hacene here decided to go to Hajj without provision, and we have an ayah in the Quran in Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 197, وَتَزَوَّدُوا فَإِنَّ خَيْرَ الزَّادِ التَّقْوَى. What is the sabab al-nuzul, the reason of revelation? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, take your provision, but know that the best provision is taqwa. Take your provision. Allah is talking about Hajj here, the ayat of Hajj. In the middle of this ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying to the believers who are planning to go for Hajj, to take your provision with you. They said a group of people from Yemen. Group of people from Yemen. At the time, during the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, used to say, نحن المتوكلون. We are the people who have a place, who placed their trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have tawakkul. We fully placed our trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't need to take any provision with us. What happened? They said the hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari. They said what happened when they reach Mecca, they start asking people for help. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed this ayah in the Quran. وَتَزَوَّدُوا, and take your provision. You're going for Hajj, take your provision. But no, the best provision is taqwa, fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. تَزَوَّدُوا فَإِنَّ خَيْرَ الزَّادِ التَّقْوَى. Now how can we reconciliate between this ayah in the Quran and the story of Hacene al-Asam, provided that the story of Hacene is authentic and correct? Allahu a'lam. How can we reconciliate between the two? These people, Wallahu ta'ala a'lam, this is at least my personal understanding, these people had the means. They had food and they had money and everything. But they thought that this is how we make tawakkul. We don't take anything with us. This is the way we place our trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't have to take anything. We don't have to take any provision. We are Muslims. We are believers. Allah will provide for us. So this is a wrong understanding of what? Wrong understanding of tawakkul. But Hacene had nothing. Hacene did not do it on purpose. He did not leave his money at home or kada. He didn't have the means. But he had this desire to do Hajj. And he placed his trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But these people, wallahu ta'ala a'lam, they had the means, they had enough money and food and everything, but they decided on purpose, and they didn't do it to go and there take advantage of the people of Mecca and ask for help. That was not their purpose. Their purpose was that they wanted to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but in the wrong way. No, now we know that following the means of achievement, doing your homework, doing what you are supposed to do is an important part of tawakkul. يقولون العلماء من ترك الأخذ بالأسباب فهو تارك للسنة مخالف للسنة ومن اعتمد على الأسباب فهو مخالف للتوحيد قدح في التوحيد. So they said the ulama, if someone does not follow the means of achievement, he doesn't do anything, he will be what? Following he would not be following the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because what is the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Is to actually do what you are supposed to do. And think about his rihla, his hijrah from Mecca to Al-Madinah. What did he do? Did he went out in front of people and say, I'm making hijrah, oh people of Mecca, I'm making hijrah today. You know, in front of everyone. No, he didn't do that. They prepared some camels with him and Abu Bakr, and they chose a place actually before outside Mecca to hide in it for 3 days, and they hired someone to come. Someone used to bring them food at night, and someone used to spend the night with them, the son of Abu Bakr, and go during daytime to Mecca and also listen to what the people of Mecca are saying, you know, about the plans of the people of Mecca, and he would bring this news, this information to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Abu Bakr. So they followed the means of achievement. They protected themselves. Al-akhdhu bil-asbab, ya ikhwan. You do what you are supposed to do. So if you don't do that, you will not be following the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But if you rely on what you have, the tools or the skills that you have, or the money or the power, you rely on it, then you blemish, your tawheed will be blemished. Because you cannot rely on anything. Even if you are extremely wealthy, you have the means, you have everything, and you are sure that you're going to achieve your goals. Don't rely on what you have in your hand. Place your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a very delicate, very sensitive formula, ikhwan. Very sensitive. It's not easy. But it's a formula that we have to have. We have to have it if you want to have a pure tawakkul, good tawakkul. So these people, they thought that they are doing tawakkul, but and that was the difference between their story and the story of Hatim. Now let's go back to the story of Sheikh Muhammad. I heard it myself. One of our Imams mentioned this story in his khutbah. Sheikh Muhammad al-Sawi, he's not Salah Sawi, the same Salah Sawi in the United States. This young Sheikh is from Egypt. I don't know if they are related, but they have the same last name. But he's another good Sheikh, mashallah. I like him. I like this guy. So he said, one time I had a muhadara, a lecture, in a different town, and I had to take the plane after Fajr. I had to go to the airport. So he said, to the airport after Fajr. He said, I thought about a masjid that was very close to the area of the airport. I knew the Imam of this masjid. I told him, is your masjid going to be open during the night? I want to spend the night in your masjid. I want to go to the hotel because I want to stay in the masjid so I can pray Fajr with people and then go to the airport. So he said, I came to this masjid. The Imam told him, they knew each other. He said, yes, it will be open. You can go and spend the night there. And then you pray Fajr, you will lead us. He has a very beautiful voice. He said, you will lead the prayer, Fajr prayer, and then you go to the airport, you go take your flight, right? He said, when I entered the masjid, he said, I saw someone praying and making sujood in the front area. And this guy was crying in his sujood. He was crying. I said, he touched me with his dua. I felt like this guy is facing a huge problem. Making long sujood and qira'ah and asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, begging Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for help. So he said, after he finished his prayer, I went to talk to him and said, I was really affected with your dua. I want to know. Maybe I cannot help you, but at least if you can tell me about your story, what you need, maybe we'll find a solution or something. So he told him, he said, my wife has a surgery, is supposed to have a surgery. And it's Egypt, I don't know if they have insurance there, maybe they don't have insurance, but this is the story. This is what it is. He didn't have the money. It cost around, he said, I remember this number, 15,400 Egyptian pounds. I don't know how much in dollars. If we have Egyptian brothers, they can convert it here. But he said it cost this surgery, this operation, it will cost me 15,400 Egyptian pounds. Junay Basri. I don't have this money. And my wife has to have this surgery as soon as possible during this week. So he said, the Sheikh, he said, I don't have this money. I cannot help you with this money, but keep making dua. Keep making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that he kept on praying and asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and crying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, Fajr came. We prayed Fajr together. So Sheikh, he was known there in the area. They asked him to lead the prayer, Fajr prayer. And of course, people outside and back home, they hear the qira'ah and they hear the adhan and they hear the qira'ah in the neighborhood. Someone who was very wealthy and he just bought a business in the area and a house, heard the qira'ah of Sheikh Muhammad, and he knew him before. He was very excited that Sheikh Muhammad is in the area. So he came to join Salat al-Fajr with them. After the Salat, he met, said salam to a Sheikh and hugged him. We didn't see you for a long time and everything. And he told him, Sheikh, I want you to do a favor for me. He said, my wife kept on telling me for a long time that we have to pay our zakat. And I was keeping this amount with me. And I didn't want to give it to distribute it, give it to too many people. I wanted to solve the problem of a Muslim. And then what is amazing is he gave him the dharf, the envelope that has the money. And Sheikh Muhammad told him, how much is the amount here? And he told him 15,400. 15,400. He said, I started crying. Sheikh Muhammad was crying. And the guy who was making dua and asking for this help, I called him. And I gave him this money. I told him, this is the zakat of this brother. So the brother did not believe it. And he was crying and he said, Bahibbak ya Rabb, I love you, Allah. I love you, Allah. As people were looking at them and they didn't know what's going on. This is the story of Sheikh Muhammad. So one of our brothers from Calgary here, he was here in the Jum'ah prayer when one of our Imams, Jazallah Khair, mentioned this story in the minbar. He came and told me his story. After he learned this story from one of our Imams, he came to me, we had a meeting, and he told me, I want to tell you something, something happened to me similar to this story. He said, I was going into vacation to BC with my wife. And we were driving, we were passing by a small city there. They had a small masjid. I am not sure if it is Vernon, it could be Vernon. In BC here in Canada. And he was talking with his wife that we did not calculate our zakat this year. She said, okay, well, they decided to give an amount for zakat at that time in BC. Pays an amount, and then when they come back, they do their math and see if they need to pay more. But they made an estimate. So he went to this small masjid. And then he was talking to the secretary there or someone in the masjid, in the office. He said, I want to give you make a donation. He said the brother was like reluctant and was looking for the receipt, the book of the receipts, and he thought that I will pay like $100 or $200. And I gave him a check of 5,000. He said, subhanallah, the reaction of the brother in that masjid, I'm talking about Canada here, not Egypt, right? He said, Allahu Akbar. And then he said made a very strong reaction. He said, actually our sisters are praying upstairs. And we have some senior sisters who cannot, it's difficult for them to climb the stairs, right? Go upstairs. So we were thinking a few days ago about buying a stairway chair lift. This chair lift that take people up and down through the stairway. Those people who cannot make it, cannot walk through the stairs. I said, and we needed this amount. We're looking for this amount, $5,000. So the brother was very happy and he connected this story with what was mentioned in the khutbah. Again, this is the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give. I know that everyone must have his personal story. Many brothers, many sisters have their own personal stories. The assurance is there. It is in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the sunnah of our messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam. As I said, the names that are related to this concept, Al-Razzaq, Khairul Raziqeen, Al-Razzaq Dhul Quwwati Al-Mateen, you can use them in your dua. Al-Muqit, one of the meanings of Al-Muqit is also Al-Razzaq, the provider. Al-Wahhab, the bestower. Al-Wahhab, one of the names. These are names that are agreed upon. They are mentioned in the Quran, in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is some disagreement about Al-Raziq, not Al-Razzaq, the intensive form, Al-Raziq, because it is mentioned in one qira'ah. It is not very popular. So, but the other names are agreed upon, and they are included in the 99 names. We can use them in our dua. نسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يوفقنا لكل خير. Again, if you want, at the end of the halaqah, you can come and inshallah write your name and your or your email address only, and we will send you this as an email attachment. Inshallah, this list. As I said, I'm not saying that this is the most correct list, but one of the best lists. I trust the knowledge of Sheikh Muhammad bin Salih al-Uthaymeen. He was a great scholar, and I'm sure he did his best to collect this list. The differences between this and the other lists are small. Yeah, there are some disagreements about few names. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Before we allow you to ask your questions, I would like to remind you that IISC is organizing one Ummah conference this year, inshallah. The date is February 17. It will be in Glenmore Inn and Convention Center. You can check this information on oneummah.ca, one of our websites, oneummah.ca, ONEUMMAH.ca. And tonight the brothers are selling the tickets for $25, which is a discount. And this discount will end this Monday, inshallah, this Monday. So after that it will be $30. It's not a big difference, but there is a discount of $5 if you want to benefit from it, and if you are planning to attend. So one Ummah conference is coming back to Calgary bi'idhnillahi ta'ala on February 17th. You'll find these flyers, that we have some of them outside, and the tickets are being sold inside the office. Jazakumullah khair. We are only selling the tickets because we want to cover for the expenses. It's not a business. Actually, in the past, IISC used to pay extra money to cover the expenses of the previous conferences. This year, we are hoping that we will just, cover the expenses. So it's not a business here, ikhwan, because we have to rent the place, we have to bring the speakers, pay for their flights, pay there for accommodation, and there are some other expenses. Jazakumullahu khair. Do you have any question before we